Welcome to Feminine Roadmap Podcast. I'm your host, Gina Farrar. Each week, I bring you an inspiring conversation to help you navigate the challenges and changes of midlife so that you can not only survive, but thrive in your second half. Today on Feminine Roadmap, we are going to be talking about how it's never too late to live your best life. When you are in your best health, your best vitality, and your best body, you are in the right place to accomplish and live out your life purpose. So please stay tuned for this conversation. Hello, Feminine Roadmappers. It's Gina here, and today we have a fantastic conversation. All of us get in that place where we think we're midlife, and that midlife-middle is just going to be with us for the rest of our lives. But today, I have two amazing women here to talk about the midlife metabolism and health and vitality. They are Danna Demetre and Robyn Thomson. They are the authors, the co-authors of Eat, Live, Thrive Diet. And I have them here today to talk about all things midlife vitality, getting back to your best life, and the potential that our bodies actually have when we take control. They are seeing incredible things happen. And I'm so excited to have you ladies here with us today to share the magic that you ladies are working in the lives of women across the country and the world. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Gina. We're glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
Excited to share.
You know, this is we were talking before we hit record, it's such a hot topic right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it always has been a challenge, just staying healthy, keeping weight off. But then we hit our 40s and 50s. Well, Robyn's in her 50s. I'm in my late 60s. And things change and it gets harder. And, you know, figuring it out is not always so easy. And we're here to just scream from the rooftop. It's not ever too late. You really can rev up your midlife metabolism, but more importantly than shedding weight is just to get your best health. And we are not fanatics. I mean, we really work with women to help them discover what's going to work for them.
And now what led you to this place, this partnership, and this journey of getting to the Eat, Live, Thrive diet? What brought you to this point?
Well, Danna and I have been friends for 25 years, Danna, or longer. We can't even keep track of the time frame. We actually...
Many years.
Yeah. We were involved. I was on the board of a women's ministry that Danna had started years ago, and we just had a great affinity for one another. We lost touch. At some point, Danna moved to Europe for a while, and we just kind of lost touch. Our lives went on. And about, 7 years ago, I think it was, somehow we came back together. Danna was doing some podcasting on lifestyle and coaching women that way. And she invited me to come on one of her podcasts because she wanted to know about how I had changed my eating plan, because I had. And, I had been gaining weight. I was a health and weight loss coach for 25 years, and really just helping women, actually men too, through diet, cleansing, detox. And what happened was when I hit my early 40s, things were changing for me. And what I was teaching my clients wasn't working for me anymore. And I was gaining weight, and I thought, I'm so out of integrity. So I had to figure out what to do different about my health, about my weight, about my lethargy. And because I said, I'm not buying into this. This doesn't have to be the way it is. And I made some major changes, which is what we talk about in our book, The Eat, Live, Thrive Diet. But Danna had invited me to come on a podcast to talk about what I was doing different. And we had so much fun together. We decided to do some cooking shows and use some of my recipes. And then from there, we just partnered up and did more cooking shows. And then we started writing the program for how, you could rev up your midlife metabolism. And that was kind of the beginning of our partnership, business partnership, co-authorship of the book. And it's been really fun.
It's very organic. It wasn't like, let's write a book together. But it started as a pilot program we called it a detox light. And the purpose certainly was some purpose for weight loss, but it was really about helping women rev up their energy and health. And it went so well. And we were virtually coaching women through it that whole process went through about 3 renditions. And then I had been published several times before and presented our workbook and diet to our book agent. And he was like, this is amazing. You need to expand this beyond just the program, because he knew that I had done a lot of teaching in that area and he was getting to know Robyn. And one thing led to another, got a fabulous publisher. And so, our heart is just to let more people know about, give them hope, because it's working. And this is the thing, Gina. Women, as they age, they just get more and more frustrated because, as Robyn said, it doesn't work. Now, I have a different story as far as both of us have had challenges with weight. My bigger challenges were as a young woman. I was so out of control with emotional eating. By the time I was about 16, 17, I was bulimic. And by the time I was in college, in nursing school, ironically, my first profession was a registered nurse. I was binging and purging 5 times a day. So I also know the flip side, not just of the physiological changes that happen as we age. I know that whole unhealthy relationship with food issue. I mean, I would have been obese except that I purged. So we also spend a lot of time when we're coaching within the book and in our coaching programs, helping women change their habits from the inside out, reset their mindsets. Because knowing what to do, like how to eat, it's essential, but it's not enough. You have to know how to get yourself to do it consistently. And so we both know from our own journeys, that's an important part of lasting change. How do I get myself to do it? And it really goes to a large degree to people's mindset, to their self-talk, the things that they most powerfully believe because they've been telling themselves or hearing these things their whole life. I can never change. I can't control my eating. I'll never lose weight. And the older we get, the more we feel, we lock in those negative messages because it's not working. So we really address the whole woman, body, soul, and spirit.
I got hallelujah hands. Yes, hallelujah hands, because that whole mind, body, and spirit, and the way that our bodies are designed, and we really do have the capacity to heal. But before we move on to the physical, excuse me, I really want to touch on the thing that I'm super passionate about, which is mindset and the stories that we tell ourselves. And so I'd love to both hear from you, Robyn, and from you, Danna, your own mindset and what work and journey you took in that way, because I'm sure there's a woman out there who probably thinks she's the only one or isn't even aware yet that there are stories running in the background, really controlling her relationships, with food and people and everything else. So let's talk a little bit about belief and mindset, because I think it's foundational to any change.
Absolutely. Robyn, do you want to share your hunger story and how you use some of your healthy thinking to help you? And then I can share mine.
Yeah, we call them my hunger games, Gina. But they're really, unfortunately, it's not fun like a game.
Neither were the Hunger Games, technically.
Right.
Pretty violent and difficult, right?
Exactly. It's been 8 or 9 years now. Something shifted in my appetite. I literally have gone to so many doctors to kind of figure out what it is, because it was just so odd. I had never had this insatiable appetite. I can go out to dinner, and usually if you go out to a restaurant, you eat, they're giving you more food than what is typical that you would eat at home. I can go out and finish my whole plate of food, and like within 20, 30 minutes, I'm still hungry and I'm not satisfied. It's odd. So that's a struggle for me, because I could eat a house. I'm very, Danna knows I'm really, really disciplined, because I have made a decision that I'm not going to give into that. But I can tell you, many times I have cried about and prayed out, Lord, I'm just so tired of this insatiable hunger, and I'm so frustrated with it. And we always talk about, if you're feeling, those negative emotions, you want to follow those negative emotions, because the negative emotions are typically having you believe some sort of a lie, which, even though my circumstances were kind of confirming the lie that I am always hungry, I'm insatiable, whatever, your circumstances can confirm it. You still don't have to buy the lie. You still don't have to believe the mindset. So I have just, prayed a lot. I use a scripture that is helpful to me. It's a mindset statement that I like to say: my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. And, I'm weak when I feel in that mode, when I'm insatiable and I'm so hungry. So that is a great way. I look up, I ask the Lord for his help and strength and his power. And you know what? Many times it's enough to help me overcome. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I give in to that insatiable hunger. And that's what we teach in our whole strategy and program, is that we aren't perfect. We're about progress, not perfection. And there is a struggle going on in this whole lifestyle, health, eating, or, arena, that whole area. And we're not going to be perfect at it. And we will take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, and 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, and so on. And it's a journey. It's not a destination. And so that's kind of what I've had to deal with. And, but I haven't given in. I'm not saying, I'm not going to just say I'm just hungry all the time and eat all the time. And, I'm not giving into it.
It's interesting because our bodies, to your point, our bodies do change. Like, that's not something you've always struggled with. It's something that came up. And I think that's an important conversation. It's not just mindset. It's actually dealing with the physiology, which I'm sure we are going to get to. But that's an interesting thought that that came to my mind, is sometimes we're plugging along and all of a sudden something changes, and then we have to shift our mindset about what used to be and now what is, right?
Exactly, because there is something that is physiologically going on with me, and we haven't been able to pinpoint what it is. But I mean, there's some tools that I use, some supplements that help me, but I have to, continue to go back to my commitment, my discipline, and also just focusing on not, giving in and buying into it, and, praying about it and asking God to give me strength to overcome it.
Yeah.
And the fact that you practice it so much, Robyn, it's choosing the mindset, because our persistent dominant thoughts drive our emotions. And so, it's in that human brain, the most dominant thought wins. And so you have to choose. I think every woman, if you realize that it's both we think a biblical principle and a physiological principle, because of our neuron pathways, the way our brain was designed. If you really are unhappy with some of your behavior and your feelings, they're an outflow of your persistent dominant thoughts. And so, like, as a woman, that young woman struggling with bulimia, my persistent thought was, I'm a loser, I can't stop eating, I'm out of control, what's wrong with me? And I ended up having debilitating panic attacks, kind of secondary to the bulimia, because I was taking diet pills to stop the behavior. I was, of course, doing unhealthy things. And so for about 5 years, in conjunction with being bulimic, I felt like I was losing my mind. And sometimes I felt like I was dying. So I had all sorts of lies going on. And I came to a place of faith actually in that journey, because I was so desperate. I literally thought I was dying a couple times. And in that journey, I found a scripture like Robyn early on in my journey from 2 Timothy 1:7 that says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. And like Robyn, I just clung to that scripture because I thought I was losing my mind. I felt like I didn't have a sound mind at all. I didn't have any power. And every time I started to feel like I was having a panic attack, I wouldn't say God has given you or us. I said, God has given me. God has not given me a spirit of fear. God has given me, a spirit of power and love and a sound mind. And I would say it over and over and over and over. And what was interesting is over the course of some months, the panic attacks were coming less frequently. And when they did come, they were less intense. Within about 6 to 9 months, Gina, they were gone. gone. I had been living on Valium. I wasn't taking Valium. It was the power of rewiring our brain, the way God designed our brain, taking those thoughts captive. And this is what we teach in the book. We give 4 steps. They're not our steps. We think they're God's steps, but it's, identifying the lies, taking those thoughts captive, basically squashing them. We always clap our hands, go, stop it, calling it out. That's a lie. And then erasing and replacing them with the healthier thought. So that for me and for Robyn in this particular examples, it was scripture. In practical sense, like with my bulimia, it was I started telling myself, I am easily satisfied. I don't binge and purge. I can stop eating. I do have self-control. I will add to it because of where I come from faith-wise. I can do all things through God who gives me strength. In his strength, I can do these things. And so it blew my mind as a young woman. I didn't understand these principles. I didn't understand them physiologically. I didn't understand them spiritually. But what I realized looking back at my life is, oh my gosh, this does change everything. It takes time though, because for the 4th step is repeat. And that's the part where, sorry gals, there's no shortcut. There's no shortcut, but we do believe what we tell ourselves most often. And so we take our stewardship of our mind and our thoughts, and it's so powerful. It just takes some time. And so you just stick with it, and you need encouragers like you to tell each other, you can do this.
Well, just Danna, is very similar to one of our clients, our coaching clients, the other day had said, this is starting to seem like what it's been for me in the past, where I do really well for 6 or 8 weeks, and then I just don't do well anymore on my eating plan, on my healthy lifestyle. And I asked her, we started talking about that, and it really was in her mindset. And I said, what do you believe about that? And she says, well, I believe I'm a yo-yo dieter. I believe I can't stay on. And I said, that's the negative thought. That's the lie. And we need to change that. And so I gave her a statement, something like, I can stay on a healthy eating program. And when I fall off track, I get back on easily. And I told her, that's not, when you start saying that, first you got to catch yourself when you're feeling frustrated and discouraged, because that's where the negative thought is coming in. But I said, you got to repeat this over and over and over, and it's going to feel fake to you. It is going to feel like it's not real, and it's going to take time. But if you continue, it will change those, because she was in an old pattern that she had been dealing with for years, and people don't realize the patterns that they're in. Sometimes it just takes someone else hearing it and pointing it out to them, because it's so familiar to you.
Mm-hmm. And it feels like your friend, right? That voice in your head feels like your friend. I coach women too. And one of my biggest, and I know you do the same thing, one of my biggest tools is awareness, because you can't get anywhere without awareness. And,
right.
I'm not talking about I'm aware I'm overweight, or I'm aware I'm wearing a size I'm not happy with, but going beyond that initial kind of issue that's bothering us and judging ourselves so harshly on that thing. And you ladies are talking a lot about your faith, and I'm right there with you. I've used those Bible verses as well. And there's something to be said for those of you who are listening. If you have faith, you can tap in to that resource. God is our source and our resource. So it's not like you're alone. You have that ability to tap into, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And we are designed in the image of God. We have capacities we don't even tap into. And once we get a handle on what it is we're thinking that is really a lie and is what's keeping us stuck, it's not our genetics, it's not our life situation, it's not our unhappy this or whatever. Really, really recognizing what is behind this thing that I believe about myself. It's kind of like anger as a secondary emotion. I believe a lot of these things we experience, like eating disorders, other than something physiological like yours, Robyn, but we're talking about like bulimia and anorexia. There's something driving that behavior. And I think there's probably a lot of women who have kind of totally bought into the mindset that, midlife-middle, that's just the way it is. Your hormones are going to tank. your metabolism is going to tank, and you're just not going to have the same amount of vitality and energy. But I think it's time that we call out that story and really recognize that we have miraculous bodies. And because you guys do the work that you do, let's talk a little bit about the physiological side. So once you get a handle on the fact that really our brains and what we believe are so powerful in our outcomes, right? And it sounds like you guys start there, because taking our thoughts captive and really taking them to court, right? Like, is it true? That's something I talk with my clients about. No, belief comes up. Is it true? Is it serving me? Maybe it did serve you. Maybe for you, Danna, that bulimia and anorexia, it fed some kind of purpose for you. It could be control. It could be something, soothing emotional needs or whatever. But you move forward in life and you look back and go, does that still serve me? Even it might not have been a healthy service. I think the journey that you guys are talking about really starts with not looking at the scale, but looking at your brain and then moving from your thoughts to your body. Is that kind of what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, it's identifying. I mean, people will pick up a book or do a program because they're in pain. You said anger is a secondary emotion to fear. It really is a secondary emotion to fear, and we can live it out different ways, but people are fearful for whatever reason: fear of rejection, fear of health, fear of this, fear of that. And we know that they come with hope, like, will this fix me? Will this new plan fix me? And the truth is,
like the instant fix, the pill. What can I take?
Give me 3 steps in a poem and turn around 5 times and voila. It doesn't work that way. I mean, we'd love to have that kind of a solution. It doesn't exist. We all know that, but that's why, part 1 of our book is that more foundational. And we share a little bit of our stories, and we talk about the mindset and very practical tools for rewriting your self-talk and little triggers and things like that. But we also give them permission, because a lot of people are chomping at the bit to move to the physical. You have permission to start the diet, but do not ignore part 1, because part 1 is your foundation. Here's the truth. You're going to struggle. We're pretty good at what we do. We are good examples of what we do, but we're not perfect. We have to practice the same things, and we're all kind of in this together. Everybody's just on a different part of the journey. So, it's a really important part, and it is why we put it at the front of the book.
I do want to mention, though, as far as motivation and whatnot, pain can be an excellent motivation. I think about one of our coaching clients who I was asking her about her family, her husband. He's very fit. He's very active. Now he can eat whatever. He's one of those people that eats whatever he wants, stays lean. But that's not always necessarily healthy, but we didn't get into that. And I said to her, we were trying to figure out what was going to motivate her. And I asked her, what does your life look like in 10 years? Because she's in our age bracket. She's in her probably late 50s. And her husband's super fit and active. And I said, if you don't make the change, what is your life going to look like in 10 years with your husband? She's like, well, I know he's still going to love me. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm glad that, they have that kind of relationship. I said, but what's your lifestyle going to look like if he's still running and doing and fit, and you're not moving in a direction to reverse some of these signs of a poor diet that are taking place on her health? She's like, I'm not going to be able to keep up with him. I'm not going to be able to. And I said, does that motivate you? Because sometimes that pain of looking at, oh my gosh, if I don't change, I'm going to be sitting here in a walker possibly, and he's going to be out doing stuff, and we're not going to be able to, hike together or go on trips together and be at that same place. Now, it doesn't always work out that way, but as far as in that particular scenario, that motivation, when she started looking at that, she was actually crying when we were talking about it, and it brought emotion. And I'm like, that's a really good motivator for you, because, sometimes, especially as we age, we want to look good, we want to feel good, and taking the weight off. We talk a lot about weight, but that doesn't just mean the physiological. That affects our health. That affects our mindset, our energy, our ability to function and live out, our purpose. So I don't know, I wanted to bring that up because it was on my heart. I was thinking about that motivation and longevity and fitness and health and what that looks like. And we talk weight because weight has an impact on all of those and your overall health. So
it's interesting though, as you're using the word weight, what's coming to my mind is we carry weight in different ways. We carry weight emotionally and we carry weight physically, right? Yeah. And so I think for a lot of people, that's where the bondage is. The weight isn't just physical for most people. I think there's that emotional weight as well. That's keeping the physical weight on. Yeah. So we tend to look at the physical as like the solution. But I mean, you coach, I coach, and the more you get involved in people's lives, the more you realize this is just a symptom, right? Yeah. There's a cause behind that. And so in what you ladies do, you have this step of working on the mindset, which again, hallelujah hands, because the power in our self-talk, when you're talking about weight loss and relationships, any kind of healthy habit, what we think makes such a big difference. So as you guys work through these mindset things with people, are you seeing, and I want people to hear this because I think I know the answer, but I want to hear from you. As you deal with that mindset part, do you find that the physical part falls into line easier than if you flip it around and just try to handle the heavy weight first without really working through what's behind it?
I would say it can go both ways, Gina. Okay. Because I think right now, like, let me think of one of our clients who she definitely needed to lose about 100 pounds for her health. She realized through our program and through prayer that for years she had been using food as her comfort. And God was revealing to her, no, I'm your comfort. So she made a huge mindset and started going to prayer and to looking to God for her comfort when she was getting in those emotional situations. I mean, she's already lost 65 pounds. And she did that in a very short time. For her, it was a huge shift in mindset. However, I would say that sometimes, and in our plan, you're going to find out which foods might be causing this, but certain foods, for not everybody, but individuals, will affect their emotions, will affect anxiety, depression. And so if you can tap into what foods those are that are affecting you that way, and maybe eliminate those on a regular basis, that can be a huge step towards shifting the mindset, because you start feeling different, the chemical reaction that's going in your body. So it can be both. I mean, so we really look at both together. Deanna? Well,
and I will say the change of mindset takes time. So so does weight loss, but weight loss can happen faster sometimes than the changing of the neuron pathways. And, we see it both as a physiological and a spiritual shift. If somebody is a person of faith, and you're using scripture, you can, it says in Hebrews that the word of God is living and active and sharper than a two-edged sword. It literally can divide, our unhealthy thinking, but it does take time. And noticing, wow, I'm thinking different, I'm feeling differently. Good science is, they used to say, all the behavioral psychologists used to say 21 days to change a habit. Well, that's really not accurate. What we know now is at about 21 days, the way God designed our brain, the neuron pathways will start to change. Those old dominant thoughts, if they're not being fed, will start to atrophy. And the new messages will actually, those literal neuron pathways where those new messages are firing will start to grow. But more likely 70 to 280 days to truly have a change in the brain, a physiological change where those thoughts become the dominant thoughts. So that's why it's so important to do in tandem. But for that lasting change, absolutely, because most people can stick with a program for a while or a plan, but if they haven't gotten to the core, if they haven't got to the unhealthy mindset and all that, chances are they're going to fall off and fall back into their old rut. So that's why it's so important.
I think that was where my mind was going, because I used to know this gal who she was proud of her discipline. And it was to the degree, and maybe you ladies can understand this. It's like, I can have one sweet tart.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is my big reward, is my one sweet tart. I was younger, probably in my 20s at the time. And I remember thinking, that can be bondage too.
Sure.
Like, where do we find the freedom in this process? Because discipline can be just as much as a bondage as the lack of control, right?
Absolutely.
And so where do you navigate that challenge of like, okay, a healthy middle ground where you're living a real life and you're not being in bondage to too much or too little?
That's a $1 million question, and it's so different for every person. And that's why, again, especially women of faith can go to God and say, please show me where, and for those of you that aren't necessarily, that's not your thing. I mean, still really ask ourselves. And if you're a woman of faith, ask God, is it, you made the comment, is this serving me? Is it excessive? Is it balanced? And one of the things that we really want to encourage women to do is find that balance in their life. We believe that they need to find a lifestyle that they can live with that's reasonable for them and they can still enjoy their lives. And so, there are some programs out there that say, pull up your big girl panties and don't even cheat once, and you can do this for so many days. And we're kind of like, yeah, there's an ideal way to eat, an ideal way to live. None of us are perfect. This side of heaven, we're going to really mess up periodically. Let's find a place of consistency. Let's find a place of balance where what habits are serving us, what habits are destructive to us. So the goal, I think, is finding a balance of, it's not about perfection. It's not about, you're not going to eat perfectly every day. You're not going to think perfectly every day, but you're going to find that balance of a lifestyle that you can live with and still enjoy your life, and pursue new habits that serve you well, and practice letting go, whether it's of too much discipline or lack thereof. And it's a journey. This is not something that just happens overnight. It's a journey. And actually, we haven't talked about the phases of our diet, but it is a process that you kind of come round and round and use the tools that are working for you and toss the stuff that isn't. Eat the foods that are working for you and toss the ones that aren't. And it's a very individualized approach.
And we have we call it the 90-10 rule or the 80-20 rule for some people, that where 90% of the time you're eating on plan, you're eating on track with what you have discovered works well for your body, because we're going to talk about how it's very individual. And 10% of the time, there's grace, you enjoy life, you go to special occasions, you have things that aren't necessarily on the plan for you, but it doesn't derail you and throw you completely off. You just enjoy that and then move forward with, being on track.
I love that, because I think that is where maybe the lies creep in. The stories come back about being a failure, about, not being able to, but really recognizing our humanity, kind of honoring the reality that we don't live in a perfect world. And perfectionism is one of those snares that keeps us from really being our best self, right? And embracing the journey and embracing the suck when it happens. I think for me, and maybe you can speak to this as well, if I think I can't have something, then all of a sudden it's like the only thing I want, even though I didn't struggle with it before. But as soon as they can't have it, now it's like the thing to have.
Exactly.
Weird.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those phases, Danna, because when you go through that second phase, the discovery phase, it's not about can't anymore. It's about choice.
Autonomy, like it's me choosing or not choosing. Well,
and why don't you share what the first phase of the diet is, Danna, so that people can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about as far as the physical part.
So there's the first phase is called elimination phase. It's 14 days, and there's actually 3 levels to it. We're asking women to remove certain foods from their diet for those 14 days for the purpose of discovering. It will rev up their metabolism. And level 1 is removing all grains and sugar, added sugar, for those first 14 days. Level 2, we add some other really common food sensitivities that are holding many, many women back from weight loss. Could be dairy, nuts, what else, Robyn? Legumes.
That's about it for level 2.
And we might consider typically like, oh, these are healthy choices, but they might actually be a hang up.
Exactly.
Right.
Now the truth is many, many women are gaining weight in midlife because their carbohydrate thresholds are decreasing. They start decreasing in their 30s, but now they're like, whoa, what's different? So just general carbohydrate thresholds, some of them are full-blown insulin resistant, which means their body is really good at taking those carbohydrates and storing them as fat, like super efficient at that. It's very frustrating for them. They're losing muscle mass because we all lose muscle mass as we age. And so there's all these things going on. So when we put them on the elimination, even the level 1 just grains and added sugar, they're pretty amazed within even a week. Wow. They're going to shed a lot of water at the beginning because carbohydrates hold water, but they're also going to start shedding fat. Energy is going to go up. Just some cool things happen. And that 14 days is kind of a reset, and they get to see what happens when they bring that total carbohydrate, especially the starchy ones. So many, that's where we're getting all our junk food. We're getting it out of packages and bags, and, it's combined with whether with sugar or whatever. But we have so many amazing recipes, so they can make their own grain-free snickerdoodle muffins. We have a chocolate recipe. We have lemon poppy seed. We have berry compote cake. We have and they're simple recipes. And so they're like, oh my gosh, peanut butter or sun butter cookies. I mean, they're like, what? Mm-hmm. And so because we recognize, we let them have up to a tablespoon of raw organic honey or pure maple syrup a day within the context of recipes. So amazingly, Gina, people are just like, oh my gosh, I feel so good. So that's the elimination, which gets those foods out. And Robyn could tell you what discovery, she kind of alluded to that a little bit earlier, is phase 2.
Right. So in the second phase, after you've taken those foods out, you're going to start adding them back into your diet one at a time. And this is where it becomes very, very personalized, very individual, because a lot of those foods that you've taken out are either, like what Danna said, high carbohydrate or known for food sensitivities. And as we age, we actually can develop these food sensitivities that we did not have in our teens, 20s, 30s. But now all of a sudden, say it's corn, for example. I ate corn all my life, and all of a sudden, when I'm eating corn now, I'm having issues with it. Whether it could be weight gain, it could be congestion, it could be joint aches. A big one, actually, since we're talking about corn, is the either depression or anxiety. These are the types of food sensitivities that we're not really aware of until we've pulled food out, and then we start testing these foods one at a time, how that specific food is affecting me or your specific body. So when I said earlier, so you're testing these over a few days, 3 days, you eat that food, you're not eating the other foods at that point that you took out, you're just testing that individual food, so you get a really clear idea of how that food's affecting you. Well, once you have seen that shift, and we have you journal, how you're feeling, are you tired, do you have congestion, do you have the same energy, all of those types of things. But let's say that food is affecting you in a negative way. You've noted that. Now, in the future, when you go into our third phase, the lifestyle phase, and I'll let Danna explain a little bit more about that, but you're going to operate out of a much more true choice, because you have this revelation now that, oh my gosh, this food affects me in this way. I don't like the way I'm feeling. So now it's much easier to keep that food out of my diet or out of your diet on a regular basis. Not saying you're never going to have that food again, but when you do eat that food, there's a little bit of a price to pay. Mm-hmm. For some, it's a big price, because like for some, we have one client that she noticed when she eliminated these certain foods, I mean, she was practically in a walker, and she said she was moving in the direction of, she was afraid she was going to end up in a wheelchair because of her joints. And her joint pain and inflammation improved so much simply by taking certain foods out, that for her, her motivation was so strong to keep those foods out of her diet because she wanted to feel good. She didn't want those aches and pains anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Danna.
Not to even mention, women look and feel so much younger as they discover these things. You know, we talk about the motivation of fear and all that, but it's like, I don't think the average person realizes how much food impacts their wellness. We say, you know, food can be the cause of our disease and it can be the cure as well. And it's exciting because, like you said, Gina, I was that bulimic that, oh my gosh, if I ate one cookie, then I wanted two, so I had three, and then I ate four, so I might as well eat the whole bag. And, you know, if you told me I couldn't have it, I wanted it more. And so I've always had a mindset in my healing process, I can have anything I want anytime I want it. I'm just not going to choose to have it now, and I'm going to choose for more reasons than just tickling my taste buds. If I can find something that satisfies me, that I feel better and don't go out of control, that's great. And so it's exciting. And yet, like Robyn said with the 90-10 rule, ideal is 90-10, but we go, hey, start at 80-20 if you have to. And you know, our women are, I think every time they bring that food in for that 10% or 20%, they're like, oh, it's not worth it. I don't really love it anymore because there's so many other good things I could have. And that's where when we move into phase 3 lifestyle, where people are going to probably live 80% of the time, they're now choosing. I'm going to have this much and this much. And we have a couple different ways. They can do it by portion control. They can do it by the numbers if they want to count things. They're just going to find their way. And then if they start to fall off course, which sometimes we do, we find an eating plan, but then we kind of veer off course a little bit. What's really great reset is going back to elimination. Even if it's maybe 7 days, go back to elimination. Maybe level 1, maybe level 3, which has some detoxification cleansing components to it. And just reset for 4, 7, maybe even again 14 days. And then they're like, okay, back to ground zero, now working back into a little bit more a casual, relaxed eating plan, but still one that's serving me really well.
It's interesting that I'm hearing, at least the way that I'm receiving the information is, it's really a shift in power. We're shifting the power from the food and it having that power over me to me being in the position of power and saying food is something I can choose.
Mm-hmm.
It's no longer the dictator in my life, because I think for a lot of women, the food can be a dictator. It can be an emotional, it can be that emotional friend, right? When I'm emotional, food is my friend. Or it can be, I'm unhappy with my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm stuffing that unhappiness by the comfort, like we talked about the comfort of food. And it's so interesting because I see patterns in what you're saying. When you talk about that elimination phase physiologically, talking about food and drink and that sort of thing, I think that mindset piece and eliminating those beliefs and those mindsets that no longer serve us, that's where the success in the program must come from, because we have to deal with the fact that we are mind, body, and spirit. And if we're not kind of addressing each one of those things in our growth journey, whatever that growth journey is, a piece is missing. We kind of have to keep ourselves in alignment and in step so that we can have the greater success. And what do you offer as far as support? And I'm assuming that there's a way for women to stay connected to a community so that they have that kind of, instead of the food, they have people to help them.
Well, we do have a what we call our Eat, Live, Thrive Academy, and that is a coaching support program for this plan. It is really, really economical. Any woman could afford to do it. And what's nice about the program is women get support not only from Danna and I on a regular basis. We connect with women via Facebook. We connect with them live, like what we're doing on this Zoom recording video a couple times a week. And we can answer their questions. We can help them with their self-talk, with their mindset. and we can help support them through the diet, but they also are in community with other women that are going through the exact same journey, even though it's an individual journey. It's amazing how we all have very similar issues, problems, frustrations. And when they hear, one woman's story, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm dealing with the same thing. And how, it's really, really nice, and they can support each other. And we find that support and that accountability gives women the time that they need, because they tend to feel and stay on their journey, and when they're in that supportive community longer than just saying, I'm going to read this book on my own and do it on my own, enough to change the mindset. Because like Danna says, the mindset doesn't change in 21 days. That's just the beginning of the shift. So it really is an excellent community, and we love supporting our women that way.
There's nothing like a good, solid she tribe. Legitimately, right?
Yeah, there is. And some of them partner with each other and form little accountability where they're texting and private messaging each other on Facebook, giving encouragement. So it's very exciting to watch just how women, they share different recipes. It's really fun.
So what role does guilt and shame play in this journey?
Oh, there is therefore now no condemnation for those in Christ. I mean, actually interesting that you use the word shame, because we call our Eat, Live, Thrive Academy community the no shame zone, because shame and guilt they sabotage us. I mean, we need to own our stuff. We need to say, okay, yeah, I messed up here. And I love it when many women in our community will go, okay, girls, had a really bad weekend. I did this, and this, but I am back on track today. And I just want to express it right here and move on. And that's where we're at. It's like, don't get stuck in shame. We've told them so often, when you fall off the radar, we don't see you in coaching calls. We don't see you on Facebook. We're not getting any email from you. Chances are you're not doing great. Or if you're doing too good. I mean, but it's just stay in community and realize that shame does not serve you. Just learn and reset quickly. We're trying to teach women. It's not about all or nothing, black or white, on a diet, off a diet. It is just, we call it a fresh start every hour. Not Monday morning at 8 a.m., not the first of the month, the first of the year. Wednesday at 2 o'clock after you ate 2 brownies and you're going to have your 10%, but you just made it 30%. You don't go crazy into shame. I'm a failure. You literally draw a line in the sand and go, fresh start, 202. I can do this. And I think it makes a huge difference to know we're not defined by these occasional slip-ups. What happens is when we make the slip-ups the norm, and moving beyond those is so powerful to know, you know what, that's one little 2 steps back that Robyn was talking about. Now I'm going to take 3 steps forward.
I love that. We're not defined by the slip-ups as long as the slip-ups don't become the norm.
Exactly.
So there's grace in the journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There has to be. It is, I wrote in the first book I ever wrote, I had this little saying, small steps taken consistently add up in a big way over time. And it is the consistency. And we tell women, start where you're at and do what you can. That's why we created level 1 to the elimination phase. It's like, okay, it's not that hard to kick out grains and sugar. Yeah, you're not going to eat out of a bunch of packages. And yeah, you're going to give up your bread and your pasta for a couple of weeks. But it's not super hard to do. You can go to almost any restaurant. We're not asking you to throw out the unhealthy oils yet or anything else. Just do this. And you know what? If you mess up, just do better at the next meal.
That's that baby stepping your way. I think the all or nothing is one of probably the greater lies that we believe as women. Like, you have to have total success or you're a complete failure. Whereas I think it's really more of a dance, right? Forward, backwards, side to side, right?
Truly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're getting better and better at it. You're practicing and you're this is not you're practicing new ways of eating and choosing, and it is a process. And, I know women are always in a hurry. It's like they gain the weight over 20 years and they want to lose it in 2 weeks. Well, doesn't always work. If you only have 10 pounds to lose, okay, maybe. But it is a journey. And we really encourage women, to measure their success far beyond the scale. How do you feel today? How's your energy? What does your skin look like? How clear is your mind? Because there are so many other benefits that should keep you ideally motivated for what's the next bite you're going to put in your mouth. And again, we're not complete purists, but I think the longer you're on the journey, the easier it is to choose, because how you feel, the older you get, how you feel really makes a difference. It's like your body doesn't bounce back as quickly.
You're like, it's really not that worth it.
Exactly. It really isn't.
And our bodies are regenerating. Our cells are regenerating regularly. And even if you're not perfect, like we were saying, nobody's going to be perfect, those changes in your lifestyle, even if it's the small ones, and even if, you're maybe only on track, what we were talking about, 80% of the time, that's going to make a difference in your overall health. That's going to make a difference in your overall longevity. You're just moving towards health, vitality on a regular basis, and those cells are turning over. It's never too late. It is literally never too late. And we should talk and mention about movement and because we do address that in our book. We're talking mostly we've been talking about emotions, we've been talking about food, but for longevity, for fitness, for overall health, we've got to move our bodies. We have to, whether it's walking, whether it's swimming, find something that you enjoy doing that gives you movement, because I always say, if you don't, use it or lose it. And at our age, we really have to be thinking about that very, very seriously. We need movement every single day.
Yes. At my age, if I'm not moving forward, I'm moving backward. You lose muscle within 24 hours in your 60s, trust me.
Well, it's interesting that as we talk through this journey, you're talking about progress over perfection. I think something that is a great tool for me that I use with my coaching clients, and I try to practice myself, is celebrating the little wins along the way. Because if we wait for the big thing to come and we haven't celebrated throughout the journey, we lose the motivation. We need to acknowledge what we've done well instead of focusing on where we feel that we've fallen short.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. The little things, you make a 10, 20% improvement in your nutrition and you lose, say, 5% of your excess weight, that will make an impact in diabetes, in energy. I mean, those little things, you may not feel them always, but they are happening. And you're right. We've got to celebrate every little win and see it accurately. And that's, I think, where coaching and community really helps, because, people do get down. We're human. We get frustrated with ourselves and we blow it. And if you run, you isolate and you go down your little ditch. If you move toward others that are doing it, you're like, okay, I'm okay. This is not a deal breaker. Okay, I'm in. It just makes a huge difference.
I've talked about this many, many times in so many different conversations on Feminine Roadmap, is community is key. Now, I know men need it in a different way, but as women, there's something about choosing our community well so that we are supported in our goals and dreams as well. And I think there's potentially part of our elimination and mindset journey is really making sure that we are in a place and the people in our lives are in a place that are supporting our mental and emotional health so that we can have that physical success. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's why it's a process, because there's this cyclical thing with our body and the cyclical thing with our mind. And, It's like they all have to get in sync with each other. And the more often we can get it in sync, the more successful we'll be in the overall process of what we're going through. And we get one shot at this life, right?
This body is the only vehicle we have for life. And yes, we get one shot for this stint on earth for sure.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, the older you get, and I remember when I hit my 60th birthday, I was thinking, I feel great. I mean, I feel like I'm in my 40s, but I was like, whoa, this last 20 years from 40 to 60, blink my eyes. I have a 42-year-old daughter and she thinks she's old. I'm going, you're not old. But now I'm 67. The last 7 years went so fast. I'm looking down the face of 70. I can't even get my mind around it because I don't feel it. But I realize my no matter how healthy I am, no matter what, my time on earth, I'm probably not going to live to 120, maybe, but I'm really like mindful of using this time well. And it just gets more and more essential to not just on the physical side, just to take each day as this amazing gift, to celebrate it, to make some deposits in it. There was a devotion written some years ago. I think we have 86,500 seconds in every day. And Oswald Chambers says that God's purpose is for this very moment, for the 60 seconds in every minute and the 60 minutes in every hour. But we can't live with that kind of purpose when we don't take good care of ourselves, mind, body, and spirit, when we don't nourish all three well every day. Every day.
Yeah. And that out of balance, focusing on our weight so much really keeps us from nourishing the other elements of our life. And I think a program like this is bringing all that into balance. So if you had to, each of you, and I'll start with Robyn, if you had to kind of distill down your message, your heart, what you really think a woman would need, these three things are what you really want her to take to heart, whether they're steps or just mindsets or just encouragement. We'll start with you, Robyn, and then Danna, I'll have you share what your top three things are that you just really want women to understand and take away today.
I think the first one is that it is never too late. It is never too late to change your health, to reverse some of the damage that you've done, whether it's poor diet, not exercising, whatever it is. You can take those steps. I also would say number two would be it is a journey. It is not a destination, and that we are all going to take steps forward and then have some steps back, and that's okay along the way. And then third, I don't know what my third is, so I'll just give you two.
Okay, that's totally great.
I think I want to go super practical and say I want to leave this deposit with every one of you. I want to encourage you to identify one destructive lie that is holding you back. It doesn't have to be in the area of health and wellness, but it certainly can be. But what is a dominant thought you're believing that is just become not only a speed bump in your life, a pure brick wall? You just keep hitting. What is that challenge? There's a lie behind that. So I want to encourage you to identify it. You don't have to go to deep therapy to do this. I've always said follow the trail of persistent negative emotions. Oftentimes you'll get a little hint there, but whatever that lie is, then number two then would be find a truth to replace it. Find a truth to replace it. And every time that lie pops its head up, it can be in a feeling, it can actually be in a behavior, or simply the thought. I want you to squash it. I want you to imagine me going, stop it. And I want you to call it out. That's a lie. And then I want you to repeat, take that truth, that healthy truth, and repeat. That's step number three. That's my third deposit to you, is if you every single day would repeat that powerful truth that can erase and replace that lie, you will be amazed over the course of weeks and months how your emotions change. There's a saying, different people have been given this credit for this little poem, but it says, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it determines your destiny. It starts with our thoughts. Mm-hmm. So put a rubber band around your toothbrush And that will become a trigger. And you look at your toothbrush when you brush your teeth. You know, most of us at least brush our teeth morning and evening in our bathroom sink. And why is that rubber band? Oh, it's to remind me to practice this truth talk. And if you do that every morning and every night, when you look at that rubber band on your toothbrush and you just start it today. And over the days and weeks and months and years ahead, you see what happens, and you can add some other messages. That's what I want to leave you with.
And where can people find you, ladies?
We have a couple of websites. You can learn more about our book, Eat, Live, Thrive Diet, at eatlivethrivediet.com. And if you're interested in learning about the Coaching Academy, it's eatlivethriveacademy.com. And we also have another website that has lots of resources on it, and that's leanhealthyageless.com.
That's where we post all our new videos and, you know, recipes and fun stuff. And they all link to each other.
Yeah.
Well, it has been such a pleasure. I feel like we've just scratched the surface, though. I feel like this was kind of the introduction to the conversation, but I do want to thank you, ladies, for sharing your message, your mission, your passion, as well as part of your own personal journey with My Tribe today.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us, Gina.
Yes, Gina, thank you.
My pleasure. And today I have been speaking with Danna Demetre and Robyn Thomson. They are the co-authors of Eat, Live, Thrive Diet. And if you head on over to www.feminineroadmap.com/episode 128, you will find hyperlinks to the websites and the book that they talked about. And that will make it easy for you in case you're driving and can't write things down. Don't you worry, I got you covered. Also, while you're at the website, please leave your name and email address. I have a gift for you. And if you have not yet done so, please head to iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, or Stitcher. Please subscribe. Please rate and review. And the reason that I ask this is so that more and more women have access. The more people that do that, the more women can hear this life-giving message of hope that it's never too late to live your best life. So I want to encourage you, just like Danna said, start today. Pick something, take some action, check out their website, just begin the journey because the days are going to pass anyway, and it's never, never too late. So thank you so much for joining us for this conversation, and I look forward to chatting with all of you ladies again next week. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.